can we tell the story better as journalists? I think that creativity is just really key, and thinking outside of the box and looking at creative ways that we can tell stories. We're seeing right now, and using social media especially to engage, because young people are watching through social media. No one is really watching television as much anymore. Everybody, you know, is in this quick lifestyle, are on their phones looking for information really quickly, but keeping our stories very, very short and straight to the point so that people will watch it or read it and share. I like to use this abbreviation KISS, which is keep it simple, silly. Keep your stories absolutely simple to the point that anybody reading it, whether they have a degree or not, whether they have formal education or not, can understand the story. And focusing on the problem, the solution, how it works, and looking at a call to action. I especially like explainers, which have been doing really well on social media, where people take a term or a concept or a topic and they do a short explainer on it, have sound bites from, you know, different people, using case studies and all that, using graphics and animations and all of that. There's a link over here on an explainer talking about what happens if Zambia defaults. So just being creative, being straight to the point. And then I think also is using real voices to tell real stories, staying in touch with what's happening on ground, and not just what our reports and leaders and the UN and, you know, all of these guys are saying, and not just relying on statistics and the numbers that we get, but verifying those numbers and seeing what does that actually look like on ground? How does that translate to the day-to-day living of African citizens? And see what the ripple effects are, and try and reflect that on screen or on online, digital, or whatever platform you're using. And also using really powerful sound bites, using pictures and videos that are compelling and that touch on people's emotions, because oftentimes if you touch on a reader's or a reader's emotions, then they're more likely to remember that story than just you drowning them in statistics and numbers. I like to, if I do a story, I like to stick to 3 numbers. 3 numbers, and everything else is just explaining what those numbers means, rather than you bombarding your audience with all of these numbers that they don't really understand and they can't relate to.
We as reporters, or we as journalists, should first of all be given that knowledge that will help in understanding concepts relating to death and development, such that when we understand, like you said, we cannot put it in the layman's language, because you cannot actually put something to a layman if you yourself, you don't understand. So the first thing we think is that the capacity of journalists be reinforced, so that when the capacity of journalists is reinforced, they are versed with all the concepts, they can now put it in a simplified way for the layman to understand.
Are we breaking down technical content in terms of debt for local and lay people to understand this discussion? Sometimes we use technical words that really they don't resonate with, so they really feel left out of the discussion. Yeah, so are we really breaking down this conversation to every person in Africa?
And once in a while, I work for the Mail and Guardian, and I know about numbers. One of the things that I really liked about what you said was visualizing the story. And for me, the approach that I normally take as an editor is to look at it from a breakfast conversation. So when I'm writing my story, I think about the people I'm talking to. I cannot go and perhaps during tea I start telling you, you know, we spend 162,000, or I can't give you the direct figures. I will look at it from a point of breaking it to an interesting breakfast conversation, so that at least you communicate. I'm so sure. Personally, as a journalist, I'm bad with numbers. I go blah. But in case I'm having conversations and someone tells me this amount of things, okay, let me rephrase it. if I cannot, if you keep bombarding me with numbers, you'll lose me at the second instant. So I feel like as journalists, we should look at it from, if you cannot have the same conversation with your mother during breakfast while she's preparing tea, if you can bore her from that point, you will also bore all your readers. One of the approaches that we also use a lot is maps. We do a lot of, we break down the numbers in terms of maps, and it's more of a visual approach, and from the feeling is we get a lot of attention from, showing different impacts in different places. Visuals also, I think you also touched on that. For us, I think photos have sold us more. For example, if you just have a photo of someone selling charcoal with a different amount, and then a tin, for example, goes for 100 bob, and then you say this amount of money can buy 100 tins of charcoal, and then you have someone with a photo of a kid selling charcoal. It has really worked well for us.